Welcome back, everybody. We got another special issue of Kerrang, heavy metal magazine from the early 80s and 90s. This is issue number 13, released for April 8th through the 21st of 1982. Again, we're going to go page by page, look at the bands that were hot in heavy metal back in 1982. And look at this cover. We got Kerrang, we got Gary Barden and Paul Raymond. We got Led Zeppelin, Nazareth, Motorhead, The Rods, Titan, Randy Rhoads. This was the issue I was telling you about. Remember, Randy Rhoads had just passed March 12th of 1982. This issue is April 8th through the 21st of 1982. So I haven't looked at this issue in a long time, but we're going to see if they're giving news about his passing or a tribute. We won't know until we look it up. Queen, Rory Gallagher, Southern Boogie, Uli Roth, Tommy Bolin, Demon, Diamond Head, and Girl School. All right, let's go ahead and check out this issue real quick. If you haven't already, click subscribe, hit that notification bell. You're at KGTR. This series right now, we're going through vintage old metal magazines, bringing you the best of 80s metal. We're going back in time, page by page. All right, let's open her up. Mayhem again. Mayhem pretty much covers letters to the editor, the ins and outs, the latest buzz, what's happening. Right, Steve Howe, Carl Palmer, John Wetton, Jeff Downs, Asia. This was the original Asia when it came out, and they were good. Steve Howe, no longer with Yes, but formed his own band with Asia. Isn't that pretty cool? Right? Shaker Renegades. Okay, this is Gary Barden. All right, come over here. This would have been a poster. So, Shanker's Renegades, ex-MSG members, Paul Raymond and Gary Barden, talk exclusively to Steve Getz about their new projects. Right, so these players were previously with MSG, so they had a parting or they wanted to go solo. Obviously, it didn't last, but nonetheless, this talks about, they were on the cover. So this talks about why they probably left and what the future holds for them after leaving MSG. Looking back, I'm sure they had regrets, unless there was animosity or bad blood with MSG. So there it is, Raymond. Scorpions, the new album and cassette. Isn't that cool? Blackout. This is such a cool video, cool graphic on their album. No One Like You was a big hit. I prefer Blackout, but yeah, No One Like You was all over the radio, all over MTV. And again, Matthias Jabs just kicked ass on that album. Matthias Jabs was basically telling people in 1981-82, I'm here. Sadly, Randy was gone in March. So that would have been great competition. To have Randy Rhoads still in the mix. That would have been great if Randy was still in the mix. Who knows what he would have done post Ozzy? Join another band, form his own band, quit metal altogether, do classical, who knows? But Matthias Jabs was one to be reckoned with. Also was it 82-83? Vivian Campbell came out of nowhere with Dio. After Dio left Black Sabbath, remember, you had Black Sabbath with Dio, right? Ronnie James Dio. And you had Ozzy Osbourne with Ozzy. So apparently they must have had a party. Dio went solo and formed Dio. You had Ozzy Osbourne, now you got Dio. Two competing singers from the band Black Sabbath, and Dio had Vivian Campbell. Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. Right, top 30 cuts from the fans over in the UK. More Mayhem, Where Are They Now? Noise. Again, we're just going to go through this magazine page by page. UFO, Back Into My Life, Mechanics. So their album called Mechanics. Check it out. A Day at the Clinic. Oh, look, this is it. So, sadly, forgive me for tearing out this issue, because that would have been a great poster right there. So this has a little blurb. I don't know if there was talking about more. Let's see. So that was it, I think. I guess that was their little miniature tribute right here, where he pretty much, they mentioned that he passed away March 12th in a horrific plane crash. So, look, this guy was full of life just a few weeks ago, right? I mean, think about it. When you go back in time, full of life, laughing it up, touring, and the future was bright for the kid. You know, he was young. And then it was cut short. How sad. It hits me more now as I'm older than it did back then, because I wasn't exposed to Randy until Brad Gillis and the Ozzy Osbourne live on at Irvine Meadows. That's where I pretty much became a huge Randy Rhoads fan after the fact. But I did know about Crazy Train and Flying High Again. I thought, wow, that's incredible, but I just never bought the album. And that's my Randy Rhoads little memory of there. Through Brad Gillis, I got into Randy Rhoads after the fact, but it was great. 38 Special was huge back in 82, 83. It had like hit after hit after hit after on that one album that came out around 82, 83. It was huge. 38 Special. Let's see, this is part of a 2-pager. So yeah, 38 Special. What else? Southern Boogie. Jam Dandy, Leonard Skinner. So 38 Special was along the lines of those bands. Southern Boogie, so there was Southern Boogie Rock, 38 Special. So it was good, kind of like cowboy western meets rock and roll, but it was good. It wasn't country music, it was rock, but it just had a little southern twang to it. It was good. Look at this. Does this remind you of David Lee Roth and Jim Dandy? Right? Southern Boogie. Does Jim Dandy remind you of David Lee Roth? Or did David Lee Roth copy Jim Dandy? Who knows? Right? Look at this. More of the southern rock. Right, we got Led Zeppelin right here. Look at that beautiful Gibson Les Paul right there. All right. Uli Roth, look at this. This guy was a monster before Yngwie. Yngwie borrowed heavily from Uli Roth. This guy was the Yngwie before Yngwie. Right, but he was under the radar. Right, even though he was good, he could play. He wasn't flashy like Eddie, but he had the chops. And he was very, very melodic. Fiery. He knew his scales and his theory, and this guy was good. Yngwie took it a step further, and basically there was Jimmy, there was Eddie, then there was Yngwie, where Jimmy was like, what is this, when they first heard him. And then Eddie came out, and people were like, who is this guy? And Yngwie comes out doing stuff that Eddie was not doing. But Uli Roth was before Yngwie. So a lot of Yngwie's influence was from this kid. Uli Roth, very, very talented. Sunshine Superman. Former Scorpions guitarist Uli Roth sheds a bit of light on his activities. Interview, Steve Gadd. So Steve Gadd was getting interview after interview with all these monster performers, songwriters, band members, and guitar players. Steve Gadd was the main guy over at Kerrang. So he was basically probably traveling everywhere, trying to get the goods from band members and publishing it for Kerrang. Right? Cuts, Iron Maiden, A Number of the Beast. That was a very big album for Iron Maiden. We have The Riggs. Riggs? Kind of dumb name right there, right? Donnie, Iris, and the Cruisers. Right? These bands pretty much disappeared, obviously, because I never heard of them. Motorhead, Honest, Aldo Nova. This movie, this record was incredible. In 1982, Aldo Nova. What's that song called? Fantasy. That was everywhere. It wasn't disco, but it was great rock. And you heard it at the skating rinks, you heard it at the stadiums and the arenas, all over the AM radio and FM radio. Fantasy was just like, it was great. It got your it lifted up your spirits. It got you singing. The video was cool. And I liked them because he had that Les Paul, and that Les Paul reminded me of Ace Frehley. Whenever he broke out that Les Paul, I immediately thought about Ace Frehley. Because even though Eddie was doing the super strats and the stripes, he basically went back to basics and he tore up that Les Paul. And it just reminded me of Ace Frehley. Not his playing, but the guitar. So Aldo Nova, that album, Fantasy, or whatever it's called, or his self-titled album, Aldo Nova, I believe has Fantasy. Huge hit for him. And I bought that album because of Fantasy. And it was good. And I started buying more of his records. Very good artist. I like him. Right? Heap Attack. Uriah Heep. So here they are coming back in the 80s with the release. Imports. John Is that John? Can't read it. Joan Jett. Oh yeah, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Various artists right here. And I can't read that small print. Revolver? I can't read this. But Joan Jett, she was also big with I Love Rock and Roll. That put her on the map also. 1982 was a great year for Joan Jett. Right, Tommy Bolin. Bolin or Bolin, look at this. Tommy Bolin. So check this out. Tommy Bolin. Pretty cool pictures. Right, look at this. Tommy Bolin. Now, I don't know much history about Tommy Bolin, so I'd have to look it up. Let me know your thoughts on Tommy Bolin. Right, A Riot with the Rods. Again, look, he's giving us the bird. So I need to look up the Rods on YouTube. I'm sure there's some footage or audio or releases of the Rods on YouTube. So I need to check them out. Because they fizzled. Pretty much like in 1983, they were gone. Right? And this is 82. Remember, 83 took a totally different turn with MTV and with Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, and Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, and Motley Crue, right? Those three bands basically made heavy metal what it was for the 80s. The Rods, I don't know what happened to them. Maybe they were a UK band. They couldn't make it in the US, who knows? But here's the Rods. So, don't party up too much because you're not going to last. But I could be wrong. Maybe they were around. Mums, Maids, and Motorhead. So Mums, here are the parents of Motorhead. Family members of Motorhead. Look, oops, that should be, what do you call it? Blacked out. So sorry about that. Don't want to get flagged. Right? An Old Iron. Isn't that cool? So we got Motorhead right there. Rock and Roll Preachers. Right? Blade Spider. Slade Spider. Oh, these are upcoming concerts. So we got Slade Spider right there. We have Budgie. Angel Witch. Remember I was talking about Angel Witch? I need to look up Angel Witch and see if they were heavy, melodic, if they were like a Dokken or Rat. Let me know. They were like the Scorpions. Let me know what you thought of Angel Witch. I need to check out Angel Witch. I hear some ads right now for punks. There's a punk magazine out. Pretty cool. Right? Contact. Again, you want to contact your favorite band or artist or record company. That's where you do it. You get fan mail, whatever, merchandise. Kilowatt. How to use the toilets. All right? That's just a little everyday article. Here they're saying the next Kerrang issue is out April 22nd. Don't miss it. Nazareth. Again, look, Nazareth. A little tribute here to Kiss, right? With the smoke bombs. And that's what made concerts fun. Besides just the music, if you saw lighting effects, fog effects, smoke bombs, lasers, whatever, animatronics, or moving parts, it was fun. Oh, look at this. See, this guitar is the Ibanez, right? And I love this one. This is their version of the Destroyer. So, remember the guitar player from Def Leppard? He had this guitar, but with 3 pickups and a Kaler. And this guitar right here, this is awesome. Look at this. Guitar Heroes. Adrian Smith. That was the name, Adrian Smith. So this guitar right here, I wouldn't mind having it. I believe it's an Ibanez, yeah. So this Ibanez Destroyer looks cool. Probably a fetch one for like about $8.99 or up. But they're nice. Armed and Ready. Bashful Ally. Alright, so what's this? A band, Bashful Ally? So here's the band, Bashful Ally, and here's Or. What a dumb name. I'm sorry. You gotta have a better name than that. Again, just jeans and leather. Grand Prix. Again, here's that band, Grand Prix. Alright, Titan. I never heard of Titan. Let me know if you've heard of VARDEN and Titan and Rods or Grand Prix. Right? Again, there were tons of bands in the 80s trying to get signed, trying to make it big, and they just didn't. But then when you started seeing bands that were getting signed, that's when you started seeing a lot of copycat bands. Alright, what's their formula? Well, they got the big hair, they got the blonde singer. Are they wearing makeup? Are they wearing leather? Are they wearing these outlandish outfits? Do they have big 80s hair, big hair? What are their hooks in their songs? What are they singing about? Or do they have a great guitar player? Do they have a great singer? What's their, how can we copy that formula? That's why there were a lot of cookie cutter bands coming out in the 80s. They were fun, but it was saturated. Case in point, Britney Fox and Cinderella. Two different singers. They both scream, but they both have the same look. But I like Cinderella better, but I had both albums from Cinderella and Brittany Fox, and I like them both. But they look the same. It was a cookie cutter copy of Cinderella, I think. Right? Rough Diamonds. Right? Dante Moreno cuts it with Diamond Head. Okay, here's Diamond Head. Again, Diamond Head was around in the early 80s. I think they disappeared. Let me know if you've heard of Diamond Head and where were they? What happened to them? Bring back Hanging. All right, here we go. Pen Pals, look at this. People are actually posting want ads in Pen Pals. Write to me and put their address, their PO box here. I'd have to read this. One of these days, we're going to look at these Pen Pals and see if we can contact them. Where are they now, 48 years later? 1982 or 45 years later? And see where these people are at. You advertise? I'm writing about your pen pal. Right, these are the classifieds. Same thing. Maybe one of these days we'll goof on these classifieds. We'll blow it up, and we'll read the classifieds. Right, here's the merchandise right there. Almost done with this issue. And here we go. Look, 8-page rainbow special coming up. Exclusive Richie Blackmore interview. Don't miss next issue of Kerrang out April 22nd. All right, and there's Queen. Look at this. Queen made it really big. Queen was huge in the mid-late 70s, right? Then they kind of like were quiet in the early 80s. And people were questioning Freddie Mercury's sexuality. But then for some reason, when they got invited to Live Aid, they blew away every band on Live Aid. And they dominated Live Aid with their electrical performance. It was incredible, and it was the return of Queen, the return of Freddie Mercury. And since Live Aid, they got bigger and better, because I remember he went solo for a little bit, released an album or two, and they got together for Live Aid, and then their career took off again. Right? Demon, again, these weird names for metal bands. Demon, let's go see Demon. And here's Demon. More letters right here. Wake up. Letters to the editor. More letters to the editor. Look at little David Lee Roth looking all young right there. And I think this is the last page of this magazine issue. Rory Gallagher. Look at that. You can delve into him later. Right? So that was the issue number 13, April 21st, April 8th through 21st of Kerrang 1982. So these people right here, the guitar players, is Gary Barden and Paul Raymond, ex-members of the Michael Schenker Group. So if you want to know why they left, I'll be more than happy to go over that little interview of these two ex-band members to see what was up. But now you can go on Google and Google Gary Barden, Paul Raymond. Why did they leave Michael Schenker Group? And I'm sure you can find the answer in like 2 sentences. Right? So that's it. That was the issue of Kerrang, issue number 13. Thanks for joining me here on revisiting these old vintage guitar magazine, metal magazines. I'm here at KGTR bringing you the best of 80s metal, guitar tones, concert reviews, metal magazine reviews, guitar lessons, licks, guitar tones. We have it all here for you at KGTR. So simply ask for it and you'll get it. But since you love these magazine reviews, we're going to continue until you say, Tony, please stop. Please stop. You're winning too much. Tony, I want some more tones. Until you tell me that, you're going to get magazine after magazine. I have to show you my entire magazine collection. So we can be at this for several years. I'm just joking. All right, thanks for joining me. I'll see you all in the next video.